buckle up. I'm about to roast you and your boss and your entire workplace with this one document because every boss I've ever had used me as the example. Not because I worked the hardest, but because I documented my work so well they had to notice. Today, I'm breaking down the exact principles I use to document my work and how I use them to grow my own business. So, here are all the documents you need to have. First up is the wins document. I put every single compliment I receive here, not because I am egotistical or narcissist or whatever, it's because I am too humble. So if I am looking for a promotion, a salary increase, a new job, or anything else, this document has helped me so much. Like that feedback I shared about my boss at the beginning where he's like, damn, I'm always surprised but also a little scared at how quickly you can action feedback. For this video, I literally pulled that screenshot from my wins document and I was so glad I saved that because it just makes it a little bit more real. I'm like telling you, literally every single boss I've had, including this one in the example, have told me that my documentation is good. So what you want to put here is every time you've been featured in the media for your amazing work, drop a link here. Every time you get feedback from your manager or your coworkers in Slack, Microsoft Teams, or even during a meeting, I always turn on closed captioning in meetings so I can screenshot exactly what they said and put it here. One of the things that I screenshotted was a TikTok comment I got that said, "Your attitude is so wholesome, makes me not want to be a racist anymore, I'll be for real." That's the funniest comment I've ever gotten, so I had to screenshot it and there's just so much. I always have a wins document. Next, the reflections. Every week on Friday, I reflect on my wins, challenges, and learnings. So all of these weekly reflections just kind of help me improve on my work and make sure that I'm constantly growing. I also always like having a section for brain dumps, which just makes it a lot more easy and less intimidating to write down my random notes because I'm too chaotic. So like you might look at my documentation and be like, damn, this girl is so organized. But actually all the documentation looks pretty, but the documents themselves inside is kind of messy, and I'll show you what I mean. So for all of my projects, I start a new document or I organize it in a way that makes sense to me. So for my previous work, I was part of a startup, so I was kind of doing everything and I made different sections for everything. In my position before this, I was a user researcher and designer, and I wish I saved the documents because it would have been so good, but I managed a team of like 10 people, and so I had documents for every single person and their strengths and goals and things like that, and I also had documents for every new project that I did. And then now for my own business, I just organized it in a way that made sense for me, which is like external, internal products and my documentation. For my work examples of projects that I've done there's this one on my website redesign project, and it was just like everything that I did and everything that I learned for it. People were like, oh, this must take so long, like you don't have time to actually do work, but it's like, this is my work. Like when I'm documenting the problem and the solution and like everything I did, it actually helps me do my work better because now I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do, I know what to do next, and I know exactly how this is gonna help the company with our goals, and then also what could be improved for next time. And then I also have action items for myself for the future, so I'm always improving on my work. Other pages like this one is literally just a random reminder for myself that I'm like, okay, this is exactly what I learned about using this platform, and it's literally 2-point form sentences. It doesn't have to be super comprehensive. You can also set up a following up document where like if somebody messages you on Slack and you're like, hey, can I have that report? And they're like, oh, can you remind me to do this later? Or you know you need to ask somebody for something later and follow up on it. You don't want to forget about following up with them, otherwise the work is not gonna get done. So I made this thing where it's like things to follow up on, and you can even set Notion reminders to yourself by clicking tomorrow. Let's say you want a reminder tomorrow, put at tomorrow, and Notion will send you a notification for tomorrow. All of this is to help you keep your work on track and basically save you time at work, but also make you the best ever. Like, not to be super capitalistic, but like if you have this, you will save yourself so much peace of mind and help you for your future. Like, it's not just, oh, you're working so hard at this company and business that doesn't care about you. Like, no, you're doing this for yourself, so that if you get laid off surprisingly, you can literally use everything that you learned and document it, because when you document things, you remember them more. you can use all that and use that to get a better job, or like just to help your future. An example of what I mean is with my business. So I do this exact same documentation for my own business, and I was only able to learn so much because I documented all of this in my previous work. And so that's how I could start my own company and everything. One thing I would always recommend you do, no matter what company you work for, is keep a database of swipe files. So this is what my database looks like, and it's just, you know, I categorize them, but you don't have to. I like the tags and the pretty colors. I have a link. I write down if it's favorite or not, like if I really liked this swipe file. And what a swipe file is that it's just something that you liked. So if you see an ad or a post on Instagram and you're like, this is a funny video, I want to save it and send it to everybody, and I just really like this video, you need to also save it to your swipe files and think, why did you like that video? Like, what was so good about the hook? What was so good about this content? How can you apply that to your own business and your own life? So always thinking critically about these things. So for example, I was looking at this person's website and everything, like all their emails, and I was screenshotting all of this, and I was like, wow, there's so much here that I could use for my own business. So I wrote down actionables for my business and just like my own personal notes from what I was seeing and learning, because I'm not just like passively reading emails and like passively consuming content. I'm actively thinking about like, okay, what is something here that I can learn for myself and take action on so I can grow in my business. So this is another example. Like, I really like this email, so I was just copy pasting the entire email, and that's it. Like, it doesn't have to be super intensive where you're like, it's not like it's a school assignment where you have this email or this, you know, Instagram post and you're like, what did I like about this? And like doing homework on that. Sometimes all I do is copy paste an email that I enjoyed reading or something that I like, and I'll dump it there, and that's it. And then later, if I'm looking for inspiration for emails that I can write myself, I would revisit this. So the next part, every single publication I've been featured on, every single podcast I've been part of, I dump the links here. So it just builds a lot of credibility, especially if I'm gonna be looking for speaking gigs in the future. You can also include a media kit, which is like after every podcast interview or somebody who interviews you for a blog article, you can just send them this media kit, which is like all of your assets, like your headshots, any images that people might need, so like you speaking at a podium, or like some images that you want to share in the article or podcast episode to help them create like the best looking thumbnail of you. And you can link some common resources that you reference, like your videos or newsletter articles that are very popular, or even your templates, and also where to find you. So like link all of your social media accounts so they can get the right ones instead of Googling it themselves and then like accidentally finding somebody who's not you. I remember I saw it happen to this Asian person once, and it was like low-key racist. So I'm like, okay, this is not gonna happen to me. So I'm gonna make sure everybody has the right links, and I just send them this Notion doc. And yeah, you can include all your self-promo, like your products, your newsletter, and your email. Okay, the next thing here is sponsors. So if you are an influencer, you can keep track of all the sponsors that you want to reach out to or who email you, and kind of just figure out when you need to post things by. What are the campaign goals? What is the project scope? Like, what videos do you need to make? What your brainstorming work is, and some results so that you can use it for future testimonials and get more sponsors. You can also send this analytics page to sponsors, because a lot of sponsors will ask for screenshots of your Instagram page analytics, or like how many followers and their engagement rate. So I do all of that here, and I also included my previous ads that I've done and the results. So like how many views they got, including like people's comments on how they really liked the stuff that I promote, as well as comments from the sponsors saying how it was a good return on investment for them. So I have all of this here, and I also have next steps for the sponsor. So like just pick which you want to sponsor, like which of my accounts you want to sponsor, and copy paste it all and send me an email, and I have my contact information here as well. Okay, the next thing is meetings. So I constantly meet up with people to learn from them and get a lot of energy and inspiration from them, where I learn a lot more. Like, I could be stuck on something for months, and after one conversation with somebody that I met at some networking thing or just like on LinkedIn online, then that would like unlock so much for me. So usually for meetings, you can put a list of action items. So after each meeting, like let's say you're doing some intro or like research on the person, and then you take meeting notes, and then after you have the meeting notes, you have to assign yourself homework. Like, I feel like I let so many things go to waste because I'm not assigning myself action. So I'm just like learning and then not taking action on my learnings. So I always have a section for action items in my meeting notes, so I can be like, okay, this is my homework that I'm gonna do for myself to make sure I'm constantly making progress in my business and growing and learning. The next part is about finance and reflections. This is like my worst part, but I really recommend doing it. So finances, I track it on Google Sheets and I help you reverse engineer your goals. All the templates are here in this doc, which I can link in the description below or in a QR code. Yeah, I reverse engineer my financial goals. So every month I'm like, how many videos do I need to post about this to get this many views, to get this many sales at this price, to make this amount of money. And you can also track how much money you actually made versus how much your goal was. And then at the end of the year, it just kind of shows everything and it shows your progress. I have videos exposing like all my finances and my tracking and all my learnings. It's somewhere, I'll put it somewhere here, and you can check out that video if you're interested. I also save all my invoices. I try to save it in Notion, but it's also in a specific folder, like a Gmail label in my email inbox. So when my accountant is looking for financial documents and stuff, I always know where it is instead of like spending hours digging around trying to find that file, or like even asking somebody for that like file to send the invoice again, because that's kind of unprofessional. So once you have these templates, it's like you are girl boss vibes, super professional, super like you save yourself some time. The next thing is kind of like monthly reflections. And this is where I fall short because I feel like I'm just vibing sometimes. If I don't do these regular weekly and monthly reflections, I'm just like not really having a direction for my business and not making progress where I want to. So this is very helpful. You can ask yourself if you met your goals for that month, why or why not, what you learned, and then take those learnings to become action items that you can take with you for the next month, because then in the next month you will always learn and improve and you'll grow exponentially if you always reflect and improve. So the next part of this documentation is ideas. So I'll often have so many business ideas and I need to vibe check myself because the shiny object syndrome is so bad. Like I have so many projects, I get overwhelmed. First I get excited and then I get overwhelmed and then I don't do anything, and then it's just like this constant cycle of never making progress towards my goals. So now what I do is this project prioritization matrix. So the 3 metrics that I care about, you can change this metric to whatever you want. So for me, it's like how much earning potential does it have, like how much money I can make, how much I like doing the thing, and how much time freedom it'll give me because I travel a lot. I don't want to be stuck in meetings every single day. Based on these, like I would rank 10 as the best case and 1 as worst case, and then it takes the average of all of these metrics and the project idea that makes you the most money, that you like the most and gives you the most time freedom will rise to the top, and that's the one you work on first, and then you can like just make your way through the list. This really helps with prioritization and focus. Now the next thing is planning. So I don't want you to get stuck in that procrastination stage where it's like you're planning a lot and you just never take action. Planning can be very helpful if it helps you set the direction and then you take action from there, but like you have to get out of that planning stage. I usually like to reverse engineer it kind of, where I plan quarter by quarter. It's very specific in this quarter, but then later quarters, like who knows what will happen. So I have to constantly revisit my planning and like adjust and improve so I can grow exponentially like I mentioned. Then from the quarterly, I move to monthly, and I just keep breaking it down from like, I have my yearly plan, I have my quarterly plan, and then monthly, and then weekly. And then that kind of gets broken down into daily habits. And in my template, it actually has a easy to-do list. I call it my TTL list, which I cover in my course all about unhinged productivity and organization. And basically the TTL list is because I cannot plan further than today and tomorrow. I could have general ideas of like my monthly plan and everything, but it's like what's actually on my to-do list that I track every single day and check things off. It's always going to be what I need to do right away today and what I can look forward to tomorrow. Everything else gets put into later. And every single week I can check my planning and then like put more stuff on this TTL list. But this just helps so much because today I always have like one big thing. For today, it was my YouTube video because I was like kind of procrastinating filming it. Sorry to my video editor. But yeah, I was procrastinating filming it and I was like, no, today the one big thing is I just need to get this video done no matter what. That helps so much. And the rest of the stuff from today, it's like, I would try to keep it into 2 or 3 things. I wouldn't put too much in it. And then tomorrow, at the end of every night, I check this list and I move the tomorrow up to today and then some of the later stuff up to tomorrow. Like, you should not have this list pile up. Like, the today should be maximum like 5. I try to keep it like 2 or 3 and then the one big thing. And then tomorrow, it's like, you know, it could be a bit more. And you really want to break these tasks down so it's manageable. It's not like, oh, spend 2 hours planning this thing, because like, who's gonna set aside 2 hours for that? It should be like, come up with 5 ideas for this thing. Super easy. You can do it in 5 minutes. You can even do it in the shower. And like, if you shower every day, it's like, well, no matter what, it's gonna get done. So that's like the no excuses mindset that I have. Now, the last part is, if you are constantly learning, like if you are watching this YouTube video, you're learning something. If you're taking one of my courses, you're learning something. You need to be able to write these down so you don't forget them, so you can always reference them. Not just writing down notes of what you're learning, but thinking, how can you apply this to your own business? So this is an example from my ADHD content system program. And you would just like type down key takeaways that you can use for your own business that you're learning today. Whether the key takeaway is like start a wins document, or like regularly reflect on your finances and your planning. Whatever that is, you need to write that down and apply it to your business. Like, take action, don't just learn. And taking these notes is like one way for me to like remind myself to take action, because all my notes always have some kind of actionable step to it. And I know that the act of taking notes, the act of documenting, helps me a lot in remembering and learning better. So that's all for the work documentation. If you would like a copy of my creator workspace template with all of my pre-made documentation, I will leave the link in the description below, or you can use the QR code. And if you want to learn more about how I make money in my business, you can check out my learnings in this video.